In 1865, workers in Hartlepool, England, broke open a limestone rock and found a living toad inside a cavity that perfectly fit its shape. The toad, which had a sealed mouth and made a barking noise through its nostrils, was believed by some to be thousands of years old. Circassia's pre-war population of over 4 million was reduced to around 100,000, perhaps even less. The city of Sochi was reduced to 98 people from a previous 100,000. It took decades for the Russian Empire to resettle the land. Between 1.5 to 2 million Circassians were directly killed in mass slaughters. 1 to 1.5 million fled the country, with half of them dying in the process. Approximately 600,000 made it to the Ottoman Empire, where their living conditions were absolutely brutal, with many dying to disease. As an 8-year-old, Raymond Robinson was injured by an electric trolley line, but was horribly disfigured. Robinson was so severely injured by the accident that he could not go out in public without fear of causing a panic, so he went for long walks at night. As a result, he became a local urban legend in the Pittsburgh area, being nicknamed Charlie No Face, or the Green Man. The Ludlow Massacre was a miners' strike in Colorado because the company stopped paying them money and started paying them in credit only good at a store owned by the company. Then they doubled all the prices. The workers went strike, and the mine owner called his friend the governor, who sent in the National Guard, who used cannons on the assembled men, women and children. Do you remember, somewhere in 5th or 6th RH grade, being taught about the practice of slavery in America? It was basic but covered enough of the slave trade, plantations, treatment of slaves, revival of a failing economic model by the introduction of the cotton gin. I remember being horrified by the engraving of a slave ship, depicting how the captives were literally stacked and stored like cargo, the awful accounts of conditions aboard, the death rates en route. I don't think anyone with a conscience could have been unaffected, especially at such a young age. Then, as I grew older, sometimes in college courses, sometimes from reading on my own, I learned more. That chained slaves were pushed overboard to drown rather than being discovered by authorities. That some African tribes actively sold captured members of rival tribes into slavery. That Arabs and Englishmen and others also engaged in slavery. That freed slaves fought on the side of the Confederacy. That despite the punishments and impediments, many slaves obtained an education and went on to achieve status in American society. I guess my point is that we learn over time. Things start out simply, with a simple message. Slavery is bad, and here's why. And then, as we continue to learn, we discover the nuances. That yes, it's bad, but it's so much worse, and so much more complicated than you would have thought. Some of the examples in this thread are like that. I know about all of them, but I didn't learn about some of them until much later than life. To me, that's why the push to destroy DEI and erase the contributions of minorities to American history is so dangerous. Doing so denies current generations many opportunities to learn the nuances necessary to understand history, and how and why we are at the point in our nation's development that we are. And lastly, I recommend the book, Red Summer, The Summer of 1919 and the Awakening of Black America, by Cameron McWhirter. The Elaine, Arkansas massacre was possibly the worst. As many as several hundred blacks and 5 whites were killed. The actual number of blacks killed is unknown due to the cover-up that followed. Unlike other racial violence where the National Guard was called upon, usually belatedly, to restore order, in Elaine the National Guard was called upon to assist the hundreds of white vigilantes who were indiscriminately killing blacks. After the killings, no whites were arrested or charged, but 122 blacks were arrested, tortured during interrogations, and charged with murder and other crimes. The first 12 defendants were tried together by an all-white jury, and their court-appointed attorney made little or no effort to defend them. After they were all given the death sentence, 65 other defendants quickly entered plea bargains and accepted sentences of up to 21 years for second-degree murder. Others had their charges dismissed or ultimately were not prosecuted. The NAACP, then a relatively new civil rights organization, took up the cause of the Elaine 12. After 5 years on death row during appeals and retrials, the men pled guilty to second-degree murder, and time served in return for release from prison on an indefinite furlough.